welcome to Wrestling News and Results presented by yours truly. We are starting with week 1. As of this week, we are just finishing up the week here with the pay-per-view of Payback that just happened on Sunday. We're going to do some results that happened on Sunday, and we're also going to look back of what happened Monday night and what happened on Tuesday night Smackdown. So Payback happened Sunday night. So let's talk about Payback. So Payback happened, and we saw the kickoff match being Enzo and Big Cass versus Gallows and Anderson. So they've had a long story rivalry going back and forth the past couple of months. Enzo and Cass have been a tag team since NXT. They've been friends for a long time, since going back to their teenage years. And Gallows and Anderson have been a tag team since New Japan. And they have been with AJ Styles, who is currently on Smackdown Live. And we'll get to him a little bit later. But they have been going back at the fourth of this for a while now, and, it comes to a head at another pay-per-view, obviously, and they're going to continue fighting it out, hashing it out, because last week on Raw, we saw that, Big Cass and Enzo were attacked by Gallows and Anderson yet again, because Gallows and Anderson are jerks who think that they can possibly attack everybody and anybody in their paths because they're just mean and they want to make green is their motto in life. So they're attacking everybody, and Enzo ends up getting hurt last week, and so revenge is a taste that is in Enzo and Cass's mouth coming at this pay-per-view. So Enzo and Cass win this match, and Gallows and Anderson, of course, aren't happy because they lost yet again to this tag team who is big mouths, according to, some people. But, that happens. You win some, you lose some, you go on. The end of the pre-show and the end of the kickoff, you see Miz TV with Finn Balor, and Miz and Maurice are talking about how Finn Balor is such a failure and how he lost the Universal Championship, because Finn Balor was the Universal Champion, the first Universal Champion. He's the one since the brand split happened last year. He was the first champion on Raw. But he had to relinquish the title the next day after winning it due to an injury that happened in the match with Seth Rollins. So, he had to give up that championship. And so, it happens. You get injured, you can't wrestle, you have to give it up. There's nothing you can really do about it. There's a 30-day, you have to defend the title every 30 days. If you don't defend it, you have to give it up. It's the rule book, you gotta follow the rules. And we'll get to another point about that one later. Continuing on with the Finn Balor and Miz and Maurice, they talk about Miz is saying how he's a failure, and, Maurice, of course, is all for it because, Miz and Maurice are married, and they're all for, it's, all this hoopla. And Miz says to Finn Balor, he's like, well, what can me and Maurice do to get in the Finn Balor fan club? And, because there's this Balor club and everybody's cheering for Finn Balor. And, and Finn's like, well, it's not up to me. It's up to, it's up to the audience and it's up to the members. And, of course, the members say no. And Finn, Finn says, obviously, they don't want you in the club. And, the Miz is like, well, that's okay, because we don't want to be in it anyways. And Finn's like, well, I can put you in another club. Put you in the Finn Balor just kicked your ass club. And, of course, he kicks him his ass for him. So, let's start the pay-per-view. First off, the first match is the United States Championship match. This match has been a long story rivalry between Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. Chris Jericho has been with WWE for the past 20 years. One of the longest superstars in this business. So we see that Jericho is going for this title. He's held this title once before. He's going for it again because he lost it to Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, the beginning of April. So he's going for it again because Kevin Owens is just a jerk. So Kevin Owens has the title. And they're wrestling, they're fighting it out, they're hashing it out back and forth. And at the end of the match, Chris Jericho wins and gets the gold back. Well, now there was lots of speculation coming up to this match because there had been rumors that Chris Jericho was leaving, which we come to find out later that those rumors are true. His band, Fozzy, his rock band, is going on tour starting tomorrow, May 5th. And they're going to be gone the entire month of May and about 3 dates in June. So he may or may not be back by SummerSlam, which is like the end of the summer. Or he may not be back until later on in the year, depending on what happens with, Fozzy and the recording and everything else with the band. I have heard rumors that he is planning, they are planning a European tour at the end of this year, so who knows what could happen with that. We shall see when Jericho should be back, but he says that he's not going to be gone long, so hopefully that'll, he can come back and he can reclaim the gold, because I like him as champion. It's always good to see him as champion. The second match was the Cruiserweight Championship match between Austin Aries and Neville. Now, Neville used to be a good guy, and now he is a bad guy. I don't like him as a bad guy. I don't know why he decided to come back as a bad guy after his injury. It doesn't work. I don't understand. He calls himself the king of the cruiserweights. In the cruiserweight division, you have to be under 205 pounds. So it really doesn't make any sense why he wants to consider himself to be the king of the cruiserweights. Like, I don't understand that whole situation. But that's besides the point. I just don't understand that one. But the winner was originally, from reports that I have read, was originally tossed up and back and forth of who the winner was going to be of this match. Because originally they wanted Neville to win, then they wanted Austin Aries to win, then they wanted Neville, then they wanted Austin Aries, and they back and forth, back and forth. So it really wasn't... We really didn't know who was supposed to win this one until the end of the match. We'll come to find out that the end of the match happened, and Austin Aries won via disqualification, which means that Neville retained his gold. Surprise, surprise. Neville does everything to retain his gold, even though he doesn't deserve gold to begin with. Whatever. Moving on. Third match was the Tag Team Championship. When we came to WrestleMania at the beginning of April, we saw the Hardy Boys returning from TNA. They had been gone for a number of years, and good to see them back, but they are not in their broken state that they were in TNA. So now, we see the Hardys that were there originally. So we're dealing with the original Hardys that have been in WWE and not the broken Hardys. That's okay, because they'll come back, eventually. So the Hardys are tag team champions, and they were facing Cesaro and Sheamus. Now, we weren't really sure what Cesaro and Sheamus were. Are they bad guys? Are they good guys? Are they bad and good? Are they... What's going on with these guys? Well, we find out at the end of the match, as the match continues, that they are bad. come to the end of the match, and Cesaro and Sheamus turn evil. They attack the Hardy Boys after the Hardys retain their gold and pummel them, and just it's an all-out fest at the end. Moving on. The fourth match was the Women's Championship match. Bayley is the champion. She was facing Alexa Bliss. Bliss has come from Smackdown Live to Raw from the brand split that happened last year. She went to SmackDown. Then the Superstar shakeup that happened a few weeks ago, she is back on Raw. And Bayley is from San Jose, California, so this pay-per-view was in her backyard. So we were rooting for Bayley to win. Unfortunately, she did not, and Alexa Bliss captured the gold. Now, here's where we get down to the nitty-gritty. I don't like that Alexa Bliss is champion. Not because she's evil, not because she's 5 feet of fury that everybody calls her. I don't like that they are playing back and forth hot potato with the title. They have been doing this with the women's title specifically on Raw and SmackDown. They've done it with Charlotte when Charlotte was still on SmackDown. Still on Raw. With her and Sasha Banks there for a while. And I don't like it, and I don't want them to do it. It seems like that's what they're gonna do. Whatever happens, happens. I just wish the writers would figure out what they're doing. Anywho, moving on. The fifth match was the House of Horrors match. Horrors. Now, didn't say the other word. Horrors match. This was a no-holds-barred match that Bray Wyatt thought up. Now, if you've been watching, Bray Wyatt is nuts. He's psycho. Okay? But he was facing Randy Orton, who has been in this business about as long as Chris Jericho has been, and a few others, mind you. He's been in this business about 15 years now. 16 years now. So, he knows the ropes. He knows what he's doing. But this match also made no sense. They're starting out in a crack house, pretty much, is what we're considering it to be. And my thing is, why didn't we finish in the crack house? If you're supposed to be making a House of Horrors match, why didn't you finish there? It would have made sense to have the pinfall there. It would have made sense to keep it there instead of making them come back to the arena to make the pinfall. It would have made more sense. Hey, whatever. It's not my opinion. It's not, it's just my opinion. It's not I'm not a writer for WWE. I'm just a fan who, obviously they don't listen to the fans very well. That's just me. But then, you have people questioning, well, how did Randy Orton get back to the arena just the same as Bray, at the same time Bray Wyatt did? Well, if you think about it, and if you really pay attention, Bray Wyatt was in the limo that Randy Orton came to the house in, but Randy was driving the limo. I don't know if anybody caught that, but Randy was the one driving the limo, because even though Bray Wyatt dumped a refrigerator on him, which obviously wasn't a real refrigerator, there was no body underneath the refrigerator. There was no lump. So obviously it didn't land on him, and it didn't land properly. So, first mistake. Second, you didn't let it you didn't let the fight continue in the house. You had to bring it back to the arena, which made no sense. Whatever. That's just my opinion. Moving on. Sixth match was Seth Rollins versus Samoa Joe. Little background information on this one. Samoa Joe has been fighting to come to WWE from TNA and all these indie promotions, and has finally made his way to WWE. Well, he made the stupid decision of going with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. yeah, he's an idiot, obviously. And if everybody knows who Seth Rollins is, he was with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose in the Shield. So he is definitely a faction to not mess with, clearly. But the reason why we have this match is because Samoa Joe injured Seth Rollins before WrestleMania. So we didn't know if we would even see Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, which would have put Seth out for 2 WrestleManias in a row, because he was out last year. But Seth was able to come back at WrestleMania, and he defeated Triple H, which in turn somehow ended up putting Stephanie McMahon through a table because she decided that she wanted to interfere herself in the match. And so she got up on the ring apron and decided that, oh, I'm going to get interfere in this match, and she got knocked off by her own freaking husband, which, you're just an idiot to do that. We won't go there. She's just dumb. But, so she's out for the count. She's been out since Mania. We haven't seen her since Mania, and we haven't seen Triple H since Mania. So Samoa Joe's pretty much been doing Triple H's bidding since before Mania and since Mania. So, but Seth Rollins seems to be not completely healed, obviously, because that takes time to recover from a knee injury, but he's getting there slowly but surely, and has made his way back to the ring, and he, is getting there slowly, but he defeated he defeated Samoa Joe on Sunday night, and was able to reclaim what, his throne, and was able to be the Kingslayer yet again, because, he defeated Triple H, obviously. So that makes him a Kingslayer. Yeah, I gotta get myself one of those shirts, though, because those shirts are awesome. 7th and final match of the night was Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman. Now, we all know that Roman Reigns was in the Shield, so that was a faction to be dealt with, a few years ago until the implosion happened. And we all know that Braun Strowman is just a big old piece of crap, pretty much, because he thinks he's a monster among men, which, in turn, he's just nothing, whatever. But he thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. Whatever. Typical man. We won't go there. But during this match, we back and forth, the last couple of weeks leading up to this match, Strowman has put, Roman through a bunch of problems. He's put him, supposedly in, an ambulance, and has tipped the ambulance over, causing Reigns rib injuries, and internal injuries, and shoulder injuries, and a bunch of different injuries over the past few weeks. And yeah, it's just, so Strowman is like a structure to be like, he's like a freaking house. But I don't know. That match was just nuts. If you sat there and watched the match, it was just crazy to watch those guys go at it. Moving on to Monday Night Raw now. When we start out the show, we see that all the Raw women are in the ring, and Alexa Bliss comes out, and she says, she thanks all the women for coming out, even though, they were pretty much forced to come out because Kurt Angle made them. And if you don't know, Kurt Angle is now the Raw general manager, since Mick Foley has been fired by Stephanie and, Vince and all them. And so Alexa Bliss is out there, and she is basking in her glory because she won the title, and you know, she's telling all these people thank you, and, you know, thank you for going with us, and, you know, all this jazz and crap and whatnot. And she gets to Bailey, and she says, you know, I saw that your nephews were in the crowd and they were crying, you know, when I took your title from you. And, you know, Bailey obviously was sick of that and knocked her off of her pedestal, which she literally was on a pedestal in the ring. Like, who brings a pedestal to the ring? Whatever. You're freaking nuts, dude. And Bailey claims that she's a goddess of the ring. Well, whatever. You're nuts is what you are. That leads to the first match that happens, which was an 8-woman tag team match with Mickie James, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Dana Brooke versus Alicia Fox, Alexa Bliss, Emma, and Nia Jax. The winners were Alicia Fox, Alexa Bliss, Emma, and Nia Jax. Yeah, pretty much destroyed the other team, which, you know, as much as you want the good ones to win, it always seems the bad ones come out. Moving on to a talking segment that happened. Seth Rollins comes out, which we saw that the night before that he defeated Samoa Joe, so now he's moving on to bigger and better things. Seth Rollins comes out and says that after his win last night, he wants to face Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. Now, Brock Lesnar is the Universal Champion, but we have not seen Brock Lesnar since he won the championship at WrestleMania. Here's something I don't understand. So, in the rulebook, you have to face somebody every 30 days for the championship. So why doesn't Brock Lesnar? According to, you know, everybody else, you have to, but Brock Lesnar doesn't have to. His first title defense isn't coming up until July. July! Really? Why not, like, you know, Payback? Why not, you know? I mean, come on. So, obviously, I'm frustrated about that situation. But Finn Balor comes out, and Finn says that, you know, remember that he's never really lost the title. He had to forfeit it, you know, because Seth injured him, and, you know, the line begins behind him, and he wants a shot at Lesnar, and, you know, all this stuff. And then Dean Ambrose comes out because Dean has the Intercontinental Championship. And he comes out and he says that the only title on Raw that matters is the IC Championship, because obviously the Universal Championship isn't there, so it has no relevance at all at this point. And then here comes The Miz. And The Miz comes out and he's like, yeah, I'm the one who made the, you know, the Universal Championship, you know, this, that, and the other thing, and I'm the one who made it so prestigious and so relevant, and, you know, I'm the one who brought this, you know, back and whatever. Just because he was champion 6 times. Oh, he's so good. And then Ambrose calls Kurt Angle in the ring and proposes a match for that night. And Angle makes it official and makes a triple threat match between The Miz, Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins. The winner faces Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship at the next pay-per-view. So we'll find out later who wins that. Cesaro and Sheamus then come out, and they are coming out to address their actions against the Hardy Boys from the previous night and turning bad, officially. They said they did it because they are, you know, the top guys in the tag team division, and they're the best, and, you know, they, you know, the line starts behind them, and they're, you know, whatever. Well, the Hardys come out and thank them for their honesty, and then they go after Cesaro and Sheamus, or try to go after them, and Cesaro and Sheamus run, which is typical for them because they can't seem to stand still for longer than 5 seconds because, you know, they're going to get their butts kicked anyways. So, whatever. Commercial break happens, and then we come back. Kurt Angle is in the ring, and he comes out to address last night's match between Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. He addresses the match and says that Reigns has re-injured his ribs and Strowman tore his rotator cuff during the match. We saw after the match ended that Strowman attacked Reigns with the steel steps that you can use to get into the ring. And so Reigns was coughing up blood, so he probably has internal injuries also. Or it may have just been like one of those blood capsules. Or, you know, bit on a razor, whatever. You know, that's what they do nowadays. Even though it's supposed to be rated PG. Well, you know, that doesn't always happen. But then Bray Wyatt comes out. And Bray Wyatt says to Kurt Angle, he's like, we haven't been properly introduced. I'm Bray Wyatt. And, you know, all this stuff about how he's gonna make people pay, you know, because of Randy Orton. And Kurt says, I don't know what you have in mind, but remember that this is my show, and, you know, you have to do what I say. And Wyatt's like, this may be your show, but this is my world, and, you know, walks off. That pretty much ended that segment. The second match was Austin Aries versus TJ Perkins. TJ Perkins has turned into a bad guy now for some odd reason. Like, he wants to be with Neville, and he wants to, like, be like Neville. I don't know why you would want to be like Neville. Whatever. But he is now a bad guy. So he tries to defeat Austin Aries, but Austin Aries pulls out the win on that one. They're both on 205 Live, which is Tuesday nights on the WWE Network after Smackdown Live airs. The third and final match was the triple threat match. So in the 3-hour span of Raw, there was only 3 matches. Yeah, this is nuts. There's never been only 3 matches. So I thought maybe like there was something wrong. But there wasn't. There's only 3 matches. The third match was the triple threat match for the #1 contendership for the IC title. Miz versus Miz versus Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Bray Wyatt comes out in the middle of the match and attacks Finn Balor. And Samoa Joe comes out and attacks Seth Rollins, causing The Miz to pick up the win on his pin against Finn Balor. So The Miz is now the #1 contender and will face Dean Ambrose at the next pay-per-view. Now we're moving on to SmackDown Live, which happened the next night, Tuesday night. Jinder Mahal is having a photo shoot with the title that he stole from Randy Orton a couple weeks ago. Shane McMahon comes up behind him and says that around here the championship is earned and not taken. At this point, the title doesn't belong to Mahal. Mahal pretty much says that like that he's getting the title at Backlash and he's going to defeat Orton, which is the next pay-per-view here in a couple weeks for SmackDown exclusive. And that it will bring glory to his family and to Shane's family. Shane takes the championship and says that he's going to return it to the rightful owner, which is Randy Orton. Shane comes out and introduces the newest member of Smackdown Live, which is the United States champion Chris Jericho. When he defeated Kevin Owens at the pay-per-view, he was moved to SmackDown because he won the title, and you don't want the United States Championship and the IC title on the same show since the brand split. So since that has happened, everything has been split pretty much. Shane says that Jericho will face Owens tonight in a rematch, since there is a rematch clause that Kevin Owens has invoked. Styles comes out and says that he thinks Jericho won't retain and beat Owens for the title. Jericho's about to put him on the list, but Owens comes out, and then Styles goes and attacks Owens. The first match, Sami Zayn versus Jinder Mahal. Now, Jinder Mahal got himself in this match because of taking the title, and Shane just put him in this match and, was like, you're facing Sami Zayn tonight. Unfortunately, there was pretty much, Jinder had help from his little boyfriends, that I call them. So Jinder won. We move on to the second match of Aiden English versus Ty Dillinger. Ty was in NXT for a while. He just recently moved up in the brand split Superstar Shakeup. And he recently came up and he defeated Aiden English on Tuesday night. And Aiden walked away and was in the back crying, and Jericho saw him crying and was about to put him on the list, and it ends up putting him on the list, and then puts Renee Young on the list also, which I don't know about I don't know. I don't understand that one. The third match of the night was Natalya and Carmella were facing Naomi and Charlotte. This match is kind of an oddball because Naomi and Charlotte don't really get along with each other. And Natalya and Carmella aren't really happy that Charlotte is on SmackDown, and she got a championship match last week, and so they weren't happy at all that this was happening. So they're a welcoming committee is what they call them. But Charlotte ends up coming out in the middle of the match and helps Naomi, but they still lose, and Natalya and Carmella win the match. But then Becky Lynch comes out, and she tells Tamina, Natalya, and Carmella that she's going to agree with them and go with them and go against Naomi and Charlotte, and go against Charlotte and just, think she's all that, and, that she was going to join them, and, but she ends up suckering them in, and Lynch throws James Ellsworth into Tamina and attacks Natalya and Carmella. The numbers game gets to Lynch, and Tamina, Natalya, and Carmella end up walking away, leaving Lynch, Naomi, and Charlotte in the ring on their backs. We get to the fourth match, which is pretty much like a squash match in a way, because it really makes no sense, because Dolph Ziggler is starting this feud with this new guy, Shinsuke Nakamura, who has just come up from NXT right after WrestleMania happened last month, and so they're creating a feud for the next pay-per-view. So Dolph Ziggler is facing Sin Cara tonight at SmackDown, and Dolph won his match. So it's pretty much a squash match in a way. The fifth and final match of the night was the United States Championship rematch. Chris Jericho is the champion, walks in as the champion, He was facing Kevin Owens. Now, at this time, we found out earlier in the night that AJ Styles was banned from ringside because of his actions earlier with Kevin Owens. Because AJ Styles is the #1 contender for whoever is the U.S. champion after this match. So, whoever happens to be the champion will face AJ Styles at Backlash here in a couple weeks. At the end of this match, though, the champion ends up being Kevin Owens, and he pulls out the win with a DDT on the ramp area coming down from backstage. And after reports, I read that the DDT that Kevin Owens did to Chris Jericho was actually an honorage to Jake the Snake Roberts and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I guess almost 31 years to the day, they did that same exact move to finish out a match, and then Ricky the Dragon Steamboat went on a vacation for a while, and that's pretty much what Chris Jericho is doing, going off with Fozzy. So we shall see what happens with that situation. But this was the first episode of Wrestling Results and Information presented by yours truly, and I will try and do one every week, covering Raw and Smackdown. If you have any input that you would like me to talk about, anything that I can, give you more information about, give me a heads up, and I will try my best to get some information for you. I am doing these mainly for the people who can't watch Raw and Smackdown and the pay-per-views, because I have been asked by some people who can't seem to watch them, and they want to be able to know what's going on. So if you have any input that you want to give me, anything I can change, anything I can do, feel free to make a comment and subscribe below. But that was week 1, and I hope that we can continue doing this, and that you will give me the support and any info that, could help me in the future. Thanks, guys.